going to want him.
I don't think anybody's going to want him, honestly. I really don't.
So he's just there just to be there.
And if the Islanders want to use him, great. But he has to prove himself.
He really does. And I just want to go back to Michael Del Cole for a second. You're the number 5 overall pick at one point. You are one of the best players coming out of that draft at that point. What the hell happened?
Right. And back when you look at the draft, Nail Yakupov went first overall a couple years ago, and he doesn't play anymore. It's sad. It really is sad what happens to these players because they have so much potential, and if they're not
Yakupov.
and if they're not developed the right way, it's really a shame. It really is.
And speaking about trying to develop players, the youth movement, New York Rangers, talk about their draft.
Yeah, so they drafted Vitaly Kravtsov.
Not a lot of people were happy about that.
I had him in my mock draft.
Going to the Rangers?
Going to the Rangers 9th overall.
Hey, look at
my
you.
My brother was like, they're never going to draft a Russian player. You're crazy. And I called him right when it happened. I was like, guess who drafted a Russian player? I was like, tell me I'm right. So I was very happy. I do enjoy the Russian style of hockey. It's a lot different from the North American style of hockey. So he does play in the KHL. He was Rookie of the Year this past season in the KHL. It is dangerous. It's a risk to draft Russian players that play in the KHL because they don't want to leave.
It's a different style, too.
Times. Yes, it's a different style. It does work well in the NHL. Obviously, you see the success that the Russian players have had in the NHL, but a lot of the times they don't want to leave the KHL because it is a great league. I think very highly of the KHL. But it is a risk, but Vitaly Kravtsov has said that he wants to buy out his last year of his KHL contract and come over to North America right away.
So it's a guarantee.
Yes, good job for the New York Rangers. He can move up and down the lineup. He can score in different roles. Great player. I'm really happy that they picked him. Really happy. And then Keandre Miller, who is a product of the United States National Team Development Program. Awesome. He is going to the University of Wisconsin next year, so he will be further developed in that college hockey style of play. So two awesome first-round picks.
Okay, now I want to go over to your favorite team, your neck of the woods, the Pittsburgh Penguins. How'd their draft go?
They didn't have a first-round pick. They picked 53rd overall in the second round. They picked Kalen Addison from the Lethbridge Hurricanes of the Western Hockey League. He is a defenseman. I was really happy with the pick. He models his style of play after Colorado Avalanche defenseman Tyson Barrie, who I really like. I think he's a good defenseman. Solid.
He's trade bait.
Yeah, but Addison plays power play, penalty kill, and he can be the type of player that's developed into a Chris Letang type.
Okay, so he's a sexy player. He's basically a player to keep your eye on.
Yes, and the Penguins have they develop prospects very, very well. They're very successful. The Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins of the AHL are awesome.
Okay, so sounds good. So speaking of the Pittsburgh Penguins, they just signed Brian Rust with a 4-year, $14 million contract. Last year, Rust had 13 goals, 25 assists, and 38 points in 69 games played. Eleanor, is this a good move for the Penguins?
Yes, I am so happy. I literally almost jumped out of my seat when I got the notification. I am so thrilled. I love Brian Rust. He can play on any line. He plays very well with Sidney Crosby, Jake Gensel. He can play with Malkin, Kessel. He can really play anywhere. He kills penalties. He blocks shots. He's a great passer.
Full package.
Yes, full package. $3.5 million a year. You can't beat that. The Penguins do need to re-sign a couple other players, though. Tom Kuhnhackl actually just rejected a 2-year contract from the Penguins, so he will not be a Penguin, so they don't have to worry about paying him. I like Tom Kuhnhackl a lot. Great fourth-line player, but I will miss him. And they do still have to pay Jamie Oleksiak, and they're decided not to pay Riley Sheahan, but
oh no, the Penguins aren't paying players.
But
my God.
Really happy with this Brian Rust. I'm very happy he's with us for the next 4 years.
I've always liked Brian Rust.
I love Brian Rust, and he's a good guy too.
And it's funny, I don't really have anything against the Penguins. As much as I hate Crosby, I don't hate him because he's Sidney Crosby. I hate him because he's Pittsburgh Penguin Sidney Crosby, because he kills the Islanders all the time, and I'm sure you're very happy about that. Now, speaking of the New York Islanders, it's time to play our favorite game of John Tavares watch. Eleanor, so far, Tavares has met with the Maple Leafs and the Islanders. The Sharks, Stars, and Bruins will be making their pitch soon. And I ask you, if you are John Tavares, who are you listening to the most and where are you signing?
I am going wherever they are going to pay me the most money because, let's face it, that's what John Tavares wants. He does not.
I disagree.
He does not care if he's going to win. He wants the money, and that rubs me the wrong way. I really don't like that for any player. When Connor McDavid asked for that huge contract, I didn't like it. I think it's selfish. You look at the superstars. You look at Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Alex Ovechkin, they're getting paid $9 million a year so that they have room.
Team-friendly contracts.
For other players. And I respect that. And I get John Tavares wants the money. Every athlete wants money. I don't think that he's worth $11 million a year. I don't think he's worth $12 million a year. If he got like an $8 million, $9 million contract, I'd be fine with that. But I think he's going wherever's going to give him the most money. It comes down to that.
Don't you think if you're John Tavares, aren't you listening to the Islanders a lot more?
I am listening to the Islanders, especially with this draft. But again, those players that were drafted aren't going to play for 3 to 5 years.
I'm not talking about the draft. I'm just talking about what transpired. Barry Trotz, Lou Lamoriello.
They have to have defensemen and a goalie. They are not a different team unless they get a top goalie and top two defensemen.
They just need defensemen in general. But we do have a caller on the line. Caller, you are on Beyond the Game.
Awesome. I have a question about the Islanders. My name is Sue. I want to know, in your opinion, will it help or hurt the Islanders to play in 2 different arenas? And if they were lucky enough to make the playoffs, will they split the time between the playoff games between the 2 arenas, in your opinion?
When you have 2 arenas, you have no arenas. What's really your home, honestly? And that's actually a good question. If you make the playoffs this year, if you're the New York Islanders, where are you going to play? Are you going to play at the Coliseum or are you going to play at Barclays?
They'll play at Barclays, I think.
Okay, but even then, the team needs to win first. The team needs to be good first for the fans to show up. Islander fans are normally good fans if the team is winning. If the team is basically down in the barrel or if they have a really bad slump like they were this year, you saw it. Barclays Center was not full. Barclays Center was basically a wasteland at some point. It was so quiet over there. I felt like I was at a play.
I do think that when they play the 20 games at the Coliseum, people will come though, just because it's easy. They've missed it. I think it's great. I'm going to go to the Penguins Islanders game at the Coliseum. I was so excited to see that. I was so excited to see that. But I think it's going to be great. It's nice to have hockey back on Long Island, even if it's just for 20 games. But I think it's great for the Islanders. I think it's great for the fans. So good job.
It would definitely help the Islanders.
Yes.
It would definitely help the Islanders in the sense of you're bringing your fans back, like the Long Island fans.
Yes.
Because do you remember when Barclays Center opened up? I don't remember who said it. It was either Malkin or Ledecky that said, a lot of the Islander fans are coming from the Manhattan area. That's not true.
No, it's not true.
That's all Ranger territory. That's absolutely not true. All the Islander fans are on Long Island. All of the Islander fans, if not 95% of them, did not want to go to Barclays Center at all. I'm going to be honest. I hate going to Barclays Center.
It's hard to get there. If you take the train.
It's not hard for me. I find parking.
Yeah, exactly. You have to find
my dad finds parking.
We could have a playoff game back at the barn then.
Probably not. And I'm going to tell you why. Because, again, when you have 2 arenas, you don't have an arena. You have to pick one. And if you're the Islanders, would it make sense to play a playoff game at the Nassau Coliseum? Yes, but they're not banking on playoff games. If you had to ask me, if they make the playoffs, they're going to Barclays Center.
I agree.
Oh, that's disappointing. Thank you for your insight on that, Mr. Fischetti.
Thank you very much. And I feel like I've met you before. I'm not sure. But either way, that was a great call from the loyal listeners. Loving the calls today. If you want to chime in, 516-572-7440 to talk to Eleanor, the true hockey maven. Now, let's go to a very great story that's great for the NHL, in my opinion. The LA Kings and forward Ilya Kovalchuk have agreed to terms on a 3-year contract. The last time he was in the NHL was in 2012 and 13, and last year in the KHL, he recorded 63 points and led the KHL in points, 2nd in goals, 5th in assists. Eleanor, what do you think of Kovalchuk's decision?
First of all, I love Ilya Kovalchuk. I'm a huge Kovalchuk fan. I think he's a great player. This is a little bit concerning to me. It is a lot of money. It's $6.5 million a year. And he's 35.
Okay, yeah.
He's old. And he played in the NHL for a while with the Devils.
It's funny how we think 35 is old.
No, but it is.
It really is.
Though.
It's just funny.
So he played in the NHL for a while. He had a lot of success. He was a great player, fun to watch. I love watching Kovalchuk play. And then he went back to the KHL. He is from Russia, so he went back to play at home.
Right.
And it's smaller ice in the NHL, so going back to that could be a little bit of an adjustment. But he did play in the NHL for so long that I don't think it'll be a problem. But the age is a problem, and the amount of money. But he wanted money. He wanted to get paid, and people wanted him back in the NHL.
Couldn't agree with you more. Now, just switching ahead to the Tampa Bay Lightning. According to Pierre LeBrun, the Tampa Bay Lightning have re-signed JT Miller to a 5-year deal worth $5.25 million per year. And according to my math, it's $26.2 million as a contract. Eleanor, what do you think of this?
I think it's a great move.
Do you think it's a little bit of an overpay?
It's a little bit of an overpay, especially because the Lightning are one of the teams that was interested in John Tavares. I don't think that they can do it now.
Thank you. I was about to say that this knocks them out right now.
Going back to John Tavares really quickly, I think he's either going to the Maple Leafs, Sharks, or Islanders.
Okay.
But anyway, this really knocks the Lightning out of contention for John Tavares just because of the amount of money. But they were kind of a long shot anyway.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know. I feel like Tavares would be like a final piece to somebody.
But JT Miller, he had 3 consecutive seasons of at least 22 goals. He played on the first line with Nikita Kucherov and Steven Stamkos. He had great playoffs. He's a good, solid player. Consistent. I think it's a good signing.
I think it's a good signing. I think it's a little bit of an overpay because you're banking off half of a season with the Lightning and the other half with the Rangers. They're 2 different systems, but you know what? He earned that money.
Yes, and don't be surprised if the Lightning do trade Tyler Johnson to free up a little bit of space.
Okay, okay. You just blew my mind right there. But this one actually blew my mind too because I really didn't see this coming. On draft day, the Washington Capitals sent Philip Grubauer, an Islander target for goalie, and Brooks Orpik to the Colorado Avalanche for a second-round pick. Grubauer then signed a 3-year contract worth $10 million, and Brooks Orpik might get bought out by the Avalanche. Number one, what does this mean for Varlamov, and what do you think of this move?
Right, so Semyon Varlamov is coming off an injury. If he wants to play in the NHL next season, he's going to need rest. So I think it'll be a 1A, 1B situation.
So a tandem.
Yes. And I think that's a good move for Colorado. Colorado is an up-and-coming team. They have Nathan McKinnon, obviously. They have good prospects. I think they'll be good. They have a good coach, a good GM. So I think it's good. I think it's good for Avalanche, and they will buy out Brooks Orpik.
Okay, so they are going to buy out Orpik. Yeah. I'm going to be honest, it was kind of confusing to me because Grubauer wants to be a starting goaltender. I figured he would want to and I'm not even being biased. I figured he would want to follow Barry Trotz because Barry Trotz has come out and said that he likes what Grubauer is, but obviously you're not going to start Grubauer instead of Holtby. That's just not happening.
Right. No. And you never know what goes on in the locker room, like behind closed doors. Yeah. He could have been upset with Barry Trotz. I mean, I don't know, but he could have been upset with Barry Trotz when they decided to pull him and stop him playing in the playoffs for Braden Holtby. So you never know, but he does want to be a starting goalie. I think he deserves to be a starting goalie, so I think it's a great move.
Well, if you ask me, I really do think that Varlamov is trade bait right now. I don't think he's going to be moved, but I think that people are going to be knocking down Joe Sakic's door a little bit. Yeah. So the Calgary Flames and Carolina Hurricanes shook the hockey world by Calgary trading Dougie Hamilton, Michael Furland, and Adam Fox to the Hurricanes for Noah Hannafin, who you said wasn't going to be traded, and Elias Lindholm. Eleanor, what do you think of this move?
I think it's a good move for both teams. I think it's pretty even trade. Dougie Hamilton was mad with the Calgary Flames that he wasn't on the power play this season. He definitely will be in Carolina, so that takes care of that. Michael Furland is a great player, and Adam Fox is from Long Island.
There you go. Prodigy.
He's a good player. He's a good prospect. He didn't get a lot of playing time in Calgary. I do think he'll get some playing time in Carolina. And then Calgary gets a great young defenseman in Noah Hannafin. Guess what I'm going to say? He is a product of the United States National Team Development Program. He's awesome. I love Noah Hannafin. He's just a great two-way defenseman, great in the power play, great on the penalty kill. And Elias Lindholm, he had 44 points this season in 81 games. Solid player.
Who won this trade? Is this even?
It's pretty even, but I'd have to give the edge to Calgary.
I would too. I like Hannafin a lot.
I love Noah Hannafin.
Eleanor, I thank you for your contribution. Yep. Joe, it's time for you to get back in, obviously, for the bottom of the ninth. Joe, let's start with you.
So my bottom of the ninth, it doesn't go out to anybody or athlete sports related. It goes out to you, Jacob, Dom, and Brandon, because when I started here 10 months ago, I really didn't have a sense of direction. I was just finishing up NCC, and I was kind of at a crossroads with what I wanted to do in my life, and I feel that this show in particular, you know, Jacob letting me on, and WHBC really put me in a good position to continue to, you know, find my place in life and, you know, look out for future endeavors. And I just wanted to say that, you know, generally I'm blessed for the opportunity that I had here, for Jacob putting me on and just meeting great people such as yourself.
I'm so happy that I got to meet you, and I'm telling you right now, if you lose touch with me, I'm kicking your ass, okay? Eleanor?
My sister Annabelle turns 15 tomorrow, so I just wanted to wish her a very happy early birthday.
I met Annabelle, and she hates taking pictures.
Yeah.
Right? I met her one time. I met your brother, Annabelle, and Stella.
Yes.
Amazing. You come from a great family. Let me just say that right now.
Thank you.
So, John Carlson re-signed for 8 years, $64 million. I am very upset at this because obviously the Islanders were looking at him very, very hard, because when you add a top-tier defenseman like Carlson or a top-tier goalie, like, honestly, Grubauer was a top-tier goalie, and you put him on the Islanders, all the former Capitals are coming to the Islanders. Just keep it coming with the trend. And also, happy birthday to Major League Baseball legend Derek Jeter.
Woo!
So, From Joe Ardita, from Eleanor Ciampi, I'm Eric Fischetti saying, insert a clever line here with a special little twist.